I'm Dana Shagru with CEAg World Greenhouse Produce, an innovative brand that engages with the rapidly expanding global greenhouse produce industry through a variety of platforms. Our mission is to educate and connect greenhouse produce growers and industry allies to help them better understand and sustainably advance the global food industry. On this episode of CEAg Talks, I'll be speaking with Mattias Karls, CEO of Direct Carbon, a company that offers circular CO2 capture for small vertical farms and container farms with plans for future expansion. Mattias, welcome to CEAg Talks.
Thank you so much.
Today we'll be talking about direct air capture, focusing on its unique opportunities and challenges. So to begin, can you tell us a little bit more about Direct Carbon and why it was established?
Yes, sure. Actually, the Direct Carbon was a part of another company historically. So that company was working with energy efficient ventilation solutions for commercial buildings and for residential buildings. So their vision was basically to create really good indoor climate, but using as little energy as possible to get there. So one aspect of that was to optimize the ventilation system in the whole building, making sure that ventilation systems are sometimes quite stupid. They just make sure to exchange the air in all the rooms in the building, and they worked a lot on the algorithms to actually control the indoor air quality in different parts of the building and so on. And one part of that was to, if you could reuse the indoor air more, then you can save a lot of energy. So instead of just pushing out the indoor air and get new air coming in from outdoors, because then you need to dehumidify it and heat it or cool it to get the good indoor climate that you want. So their solution that they were looking at was also to reduce the carbon dioxide from the indoor air, the return air coming out, and reuse it more to save energy. So that was sort of the background to Direct Carbon. So they started to work with the university here in Stockholm, Sweden, to develop an adsorbent that could actually pick up the CO2 molecules from that airstream. So that was the background to the company.
Awesome. Now, what are some challenges around CO2 that growers are currently facing?
Yeah, that varies a little bit depending on where those growers are based, I would say. I would say almost all the farmers that we talk to, they use like CO2 on tubes or tanks. So if they have the smaller farms, they have the compressed CO2 in the bottles that they inject in the farm. And I think their biggest challenge is, I would say, they don't want to use that fossil CO2 gas because everyone is really ambitious with the circularity and the green profile of the company. So I think they work hard on all those aspects. So they try to use like organic fertilizers and renewable energy and as little transportation as possible and so on. But then they have the fossil CO2 on bottles that are transported to and from the farm. So I think that's it's definitely an area that it's easy to gain attention from them to talk about a circular solution also on that aspect.
Yeah, and from what I've read and from what I understand, it's becoming more of a problem with CO2 shortages and whatnot.
Yeah, exactly. So you see that, it could be shortage, could be expensive, could be, you really rely on the supply of those tubes and tanks to your farm, for example. And if there is a shortage, prices goes up, and yeah, so it's a bit of a hassle, I think, for the farms with the current CO2 solutions that they normally using.
Yeah, no, I know your company offers circular CO2 capture. Can you explain how that works?
Yes, so we try to make it as easy as possible for the producers. So we normally say that what they normally know is that they want to have a certain ppm level of CO2 in the farm. How to get there is normally quite easy. So you want them to set the ppm level that they want, and we want to build a system, or we're offering a system that actually makes sure that the ppm level is on the right level that they want in the farm. So how the system works is that you could set the machine that we offer, you can set it outside of the farm or you can set it inside of the farm. It doesn't really matter. But one part of the machine is really to push air through it, outdoor air, where we actually capture the CO2. And our machine is built on the core of the machine, you can say, is like a round rotary filter. So on one side of the filter, you have the outdoor air going through. That's where the CO2 is captured in that filter. And that filter is slowly turning. And when it gets to the other side of the machine, we take the air from the farm where you have, maybe you have 800 ppm, but you want it to be 900, for example. So we take in that air, we heat it, and when it goes through the filter on the other side, it actually releases the CO2 from the filter, and then we push it back into the farm again with, say, 3000 ppm. And the machine will then do this procedure until you get the right ppm level of CO2 in the farm that you want.
Very nice. It sounds like it eliminates some of the stresses of relying on tanks and outside sources of CO2 for sure.
Yeah, and as I said, we tried to make it as easy as possible for the farmers. So almost all of them have grow management software that they're using. And in that case, they can just set, okay, I want to have 1100 ppm. It's sent through this Modbus TCP protocol to the machine that's connected, and then the machine will take care of the rest. So yeah, I totally agree. So now they need to go and check on those tubes and tanks and order them and make sure that the tank guy is coming in and get the bottles back and so on. And with this solution, you can just forget about it. The machine will take care of it and make sure that you have the right level of CO2.
Awesome. Well, in addition to being easy to use, what are some other benefits of using circular CO2 capture?
Yeah, I think I talked a little bit about that before. I think almost every farm that we talk to, they really have the sustainability is really high on their sort of agenda. And I think it annoys them quite a bit to use the fossil CO2, especially everyone is talking about global warming, and we see, I mean, the natural disasters occurring almost every week, it seems. So, I mean, to be a part of that and release CO2, I don't think anyone wants to be there. But of course, there hasn't been any solutions for direct air capture for the farms before. I guess maybe a year back or so, but it's fairly new technology. So if you can sort of reduce all those transportations of the flasks and tanks and be self-sufficient on carbon dioxide, I think that's something where everyone wants to be.
Well, we've discussed some of the benefits of direct air capture and circular CO2 capture, but what are some challenges that surround it?
Yeah, I think if you talk about the smaller farms, then direct air capture can be on par or even a little bit cheaper actually than buying the compressed CO2, because of all the extra cost that you have in you renting the tanks, and you have the transportation and so on. If we talk about the large greenhouses or really large vertical farms, I think it's a cost issue that has been quite obvious now in early stage. I mean, if you can buy carbon dioxide from a pipeline and it's no tax, and that's really hard to beat with direct air capture. But the technology is getting better and better, I would say. Energy efficiency is being improved all the time. We have some quite clever solution on that side to make it more energy efficient as well. And now we see that the shortage of CO2, we see taxes are coming in, and we see some requirements for getting your permit to start to build your farm to actually show that you will be circular in 2030, for example. So I think from a macro perspective, everything is pointing in the right in our direction, so to say, that these solutions will come and they will last as well.
Yeah, I think the sustainability part and the cost are definitely some challenges that surround it, but it sounds like it would be very beneficial to have in the long term.
I think in terms of adaptability, I think the early adopters are probably the more of the vertical farms that are used to test and use new technology, than the larger greenhouses that are a little bit more traditional, I guess, and they will come in the next wave, so to say, when they see that it's working and that the economy is there basically.
Well, Matthias, those are all the questions that I really had for you about direct air capture and the CO2 challenges that are around in CEA. But is there anything else that you feel is important to mention about your company or the future of DAC technology?
No, it's very exciting times for us now. We launched our first product, the Wunderpumpe, on the Green Tech show in Amsterdam in June, and we are doing the first installations now. So that's super exciting. So we have signed up clients in different countries, and we are trying to align them now for the first installation. And then we will, what will be really interesting for us is to go up in size as well. Because of course, if the first unit that we have now is a 5 kilogram per day, so it's for container farms, smaller vertical farms, and maybe some small greenhouses as well, but really small ones. But to really offer larger solutions as well, of course, that has a bigger impact on the environment, but also it's a space where you have a lot of sort of financially sound growers as well. That will be really interesting to address next year with our much larger units as well.
That's exciting. Well, I'm excited to see what your company accomplishes in the next year.
Yeah, that will be interesting.
All right, great. Well, thank you for taking the time to speak with me again, and I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Yeah, thank you. Nice talking to you.